Lower bone quality can lead to fracture. Bone remodeling is a process whereby osteoclasts remove the old bone matrix, creating a resorption cavity. This remodeling process is happening across multiple trabecular sites throughout the body. They are followed by a team of osteoblasts that refill this resorption cavity, laying down new bone matrix. There is an approximate balance in the filling of resorption sites by osteoblasts. In osteoporosis, increased osteoclast activity and relatively low levels of osteoblast activity result in the thinning of bone microarchitecture and a reduction in bone strength. There is substantial underfilling of resorption sites and an increase in remodeling sites across trabecular surfaces. Furthermore, numerous deep resorption cavities can act as mechanical stress risers within trabecular bone. Decreased trabecular bone volume, a reduction in trabecular numbers, the conversion of plates to rods, and the increased risk of perforation result in lower bone density and poorer bone quality. As seen in a biopsy from the pelvic iliac crest, decreased cortical thickness also occurs. This results in lower bone strength and causes the patient to be at a heightened risk of fractures. As osteoporosis develops across a number of years, there are no obvious physical symptoms to illustrate the decline in bone strength of both cortical and trabecular bone. This silent disease leaves multiple sites of the skeleton at a high risk of fracture. The moment of fracture and its impact. Osteoporosis is characterized by reduced bone strength, which reflects the integration of bone quality and bone mineral density. In many cases, the first sign of this decline in bone strength is when a fragility fracture occurs, sometimes even in cases where osteoporosis has not yet been identified. The threshold of high risk for a cascade of further fractures has been crossed. The risk of further vertebral fragility fractures, independent of bone mineral density, increases threefold after a first fracture, fivefold after a second fracture, and eightfold after a third fracture. A fracture can disrupt every aspect of daily life. It is painful, and recovery takes place over many months. Subsequent fragility fractures can seriously affect a patient's mobility and posture. This represents a time to carefully consider all available treatment options. With weakness present throughout the skeleton, this patient is prone to another fracture. In this situation, what would be the best treatment choice? Teriparatide mode of action. Teriparatide is a treatment option for osteoporosis in patients at increased risk of vertebral fracture. It is identical to the first 34 amino acids of human parathyroid hormone. Teriparatide binds to parathyroid hormone receptors on osteoblasts, resulting in the rapid and direct stimulation of their bone-forming activity in areas of both trabecular and cortical bone across the whole skeleton. Teriparatide can initiate bone formation without prior resorption. It is the intermittent exposure of osteoblasts to teriparatide that drives this anabolic response. When bone formation is complete, more bone has been formed than was removed, thereby increasing trabecular bone volume, connectivity, the conversion of rods to plates, and cortical thickness. This increased skeletal mass and positive balance in bone remodeling improves the ability of bone to respond to stress and strain forces, resulting in the overall improvement of bone strength. As seen in biopsies from the pelvic iliac crest, improvements in structural integrity following teriparatide treatment are apparent in both cortical and trabecular bone and reflect improvements happening across the whole skeleton.